Okay, so here we go with Module 6, Supply. I'm actually dividing this into two modules, one or two PowerPoints. One supply, and the other will be equilibrium, which is putting supply and demand together. This one won't be quite as long because the concepts are the same. So, in other words, if you understand quantity demanded versus demand, you should be able to understand quantity supplied versus supply. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that. I'm basically just going to talk about the determinants and the law of supply. And again, as always, questions, please ask tomorrow. Write a comment in the comment box on YouTube. So, I can make sure if I left something out to fix that and answer your questions. Okay, so here we go. Supply. So demand basically deals with consumers, deals with us, and that's why for many of us it's a little bit easier to understand. Supply, on the other side, deals with sellers, right? So you kind of need to think about everything in reverse. Buyers, their goal is to save money, where producers and sellers, their goal is to make money. So let's take a look at the supply schedule and the supply curve. So here you have the same supply, same product, soda per week, and you're looking at the supply schedule rather than the demand schedule. And you'll notice that when soda is expensive, sellers want to sell more soda. And again, it might be a little bit harder to understand, but it should make sense. If I can make a lot of money selling something, I want to sell more of it. Don't get into your head, well, wow, if soda's only $1, I need to sell more of them. In order to make money, you do. The big difference with supply is that supply to supply something takes effort, right? Soda just doesn't fall out of the sky as a can of soda. You have to make it, can it, ship it. And so the idea behind supply is, why should I spend effort and time and resources to produce something if I'm not going to make money, I'm not going to make a profit? So the higher the price, the more willing I am to be selling that and making it. When the price is low, why bother? Okay, so let's look at the supply curve. $5, 250 sodas. $4, 200. $3, 150. $2, 100. And $1, we're going to supply 50 sodas. You'll notice the supply curve is upward sloping, right? And this indicates a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. The higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. Some of you might be saying, okay, I know where this is going. Demand's downward, we're going to make an X. And we'll get to that in the next lecture. So, the law of supply says, as prices rise, the quantity supplied also rises, and vice versa. When the prices fall, quantity supplied also falls. And you can look at this graph and you can see that's exactly what it's telling us. Okay? Now, probably the most important part, because this, again, if you understood demand, you should understand this. Same thing. We're going to look at the determinants. Okay, so the first determinant of supply is resource prices, input prices. This is probably one of the biggest ones. For example, if the price of microchips goes down, it's going to be cheaper for me to make computers, right? I can make a bigger profit, and so I'm going to try to supply more computers because I can make more money. If the price of oil goes up, that makes gasoline more expensive, okay? And it reduces my profit, and so I'm going to sell less of it because I'm not going to make as much of a profit. So if the price of something that goes into making your good goes up, supply is going to decrease. And you can look in your book. Your book explains this and shows you on the graph as well. Next is technology. Generally, technology moves in one direction. Improvements in technology are going to increase supply, right? So here it says, as wireless technology increases, The supply of cell phones is going to increase too because they get cheaper, so people are going to be willing to sell more of them. And then changes in taxes and subsidies. Taxes are monies that businesses pay the government, and subsidies are monies that the government pays businesses. Okay? So, and you can put a regulation in here too. Regulations act as a tax. But if cigarette makers have to pay a tax, that increases their costs, and they're going to want to supply less, right? And we see this happening. We call them sin taxes, not S-Y-N, S-I-N, right? You pay a higher tax for producing something that some people deem as bad. And then when subsidies are given or taken away, that's going to affect supply too. So here it says if states stop giving subsidies to students for higher education, less people are going to go to school. If the government gives a subsidy to clean energy, that reduces their costs, increases their profits, and they're going to be willing to supply more clean energy. Next, let's look at the change in the price of other goods or related goods. So, if I'm producing watermelon and all of a sudden the price of honeydew increases, well, what do I want to sell? The higher price good or the lower price good? The higher price good. So I'm going to switch my production to honeydews where I can make more profit rather than the cheaper watermelon. Similar to consumer expectations, we also deal with producer expectations. If I expect the price of something to go up in the future, right, when am I going to want to sell it? In the future when the price is higher. And so I'm going to sell less today. Now, this obviously doesn't work for everything. You know, if I'm a blueberry farmer and I know blueberries are going to go up, I can't hold on to my blueberries now. What happens when you hold on to blueberries? Right, they go bad. So this only holds true for non-perishable items, but my expectation of future prices is going to affect my current supply. And then finally, we have change in the number of suppliers, just like the change in the number of buyers, okay? If more people open tattoo parlors, there's going to be more tattoos given out, okay? When the women's professional basketball league came about, there's more women's basketball games because there's just more of it, all right? So that should be relatively easy to understand. And then finally, so those are all the determinants. We're going to end up with changes in supply, okay? So any of those factors that we just went over, if supply increases, just like with demand, increases are always to the right, decreases are always to the left, okay? And that will do it for supply.